Hi guys, how are you?
Hello.
Hi. Have you seen footage like this before?
Yeah, I have.
You have?
Yeah.
What do you think of it?
Oh, it's not cool.
It's full on.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah.
It's full on. Obviously, when you're not doing it yourself, it's quite easy to forget, right?
Yeah. Are you vegan?
No, I'm not. I'm a yoga teacher and I should be vegan, but I'm not vegan. I have quite a few vegan friends.
Okay.
And we always have this conversation. This is why I know this footage.
Okay. They show it to you, do they?
I mean, I try and eat as consciously as possible, as often as possible.
Sure.
And I end up like lapsing and going back to stuff. But
Yeah. I'm a yoga teacher too, actually.
Yeah,
So
I
haven't practiced for a while, but I've moved in those circles, and it was always interesting to me that a lot of the yoga teachers and students were never vegan, because you would know that the first principle of yoga is ahimsa, non-violence, non-harming. So it was interesting for me on my journey, I guess, if you like, was aligning my actions with my ethics. And then I went, wow, that's the most logical thing. What am I putting in my mouth? So when you've seen footage like this, does it make you think about, you said like you were being more conscious of what you were eating?
It makes me more, it hits home harder when I'm by myself watching it at home.
Sure.
When I'm watching it in public domain, I'm like, oh wow.
Yeah.
And it's so much stimulation around that you can so easily
disassociate from it a bit.
I feel like it's great for everyone to watch. Yeah. But I'm even watching it going, oh wow, and I'll walk away and we'll probably start talking about yoga.
Yeah.
In like
out of sight, out of mind. Yeah.
But
what would stop you from not eating animals anymore? What would be that thing that was holding you back from choosing to make that change?
I think for me, like if we're coming to the yamas and niyamas, satya, truth, and the truth in your body and what it feels like, is sometimes I don't eat a lot of meat, but sometimes my body needs it.
Okay, so what do you think that you need from meat for your body? What is it?
I don't know. It's probably something protein. You can't answer all those questions, I don't think.
Okay.
All our body constitutions are so different, so it's about listening to the truth of what is in the moment.
Which is really interesting that we're actually holding signs of truth, because what the industry is not showing us is the truth. So it's interesting that you've raised that. There's actually nothing in animal products that we can't get from plants.
Sure.
And that's not my opinion, that's science telling us that. So we can definitely get all the protein we require from plant foods as well. Usually when people say that, what it is that animal products are higher in fat, they're higher in calories. So a lot of times when we're feeling like, oh, I think I need some meat, it's actually that we're needing more calories. And so when we're eating whole plant foods, for example, we can eat a larger volume because they're lower in calories, but a lot of people stick to smaller portions because that's what they're used to doing with animal products. And then as soon as they increase that
taste and flavour, I feel like we've been so brainwashed from a young age. I'm watching my mate give his, a 1.5-year-old lamb chop. 1.5. Chewing the out of it, enjoying the out of it. She obviously wouldn't kill the animal herself. I understand that. Put a pig in a carrot. What's the kid going to do? It's going to eat the carrot. I get it. But it's also still loving a cooked lamb chop. I'm not here to debate because I agree with you. I agree in everything you're doing. I just feel as though
well, no one's denying that it doesn't taste good, right? Like it does taste good.
Just saying, I think that's what stops most people.
Exactly, and you know what? Why it tastes good is because of the seasonings and the salt and the flavouring and the marinade. So it's actually a lot of the times it's the plants that we're cooking the animal products with.
Sometimes
that taste good.
Vegetables need seasoning to taste good too.
Of course, I mean, it's
for most is not appealing.
but
dipping it in hummus.
You can use all those spices and flavours on your plant foods as well. So if we can have foods that taste good, that come from plants and not animals, and that kind of takes care of that. I mean, for example, I use tofu and tempeh as my meat replacement, if you like, because it's got that texture. And I will marinate it and spice it and cook it the same way I used to cook animal flesh. So I'm getting the same flavours just from plants and not animals.
I had a laksa today at that place there. I love the tofu, but I also love the seafood. And I'm like,
so the question to ask is are our taste buds more important than their lives? Our taste buds are more important?
No, I'm saying that's the question.
That's the question, right. And what do you think the answer is for you?
No.
The great thing is also our taste buds change. So I've been vegan for 7.5 years now, and I remember what it used to taste like to eat animal products, but I don't crave those products at all because your taste buds change. We crave what we eat every day. So I've definitely noticed that difference.
It's such an interesting thing because I'm also always into self-experiment. I'm always one to give things a go.
Yep.
And I give, being a veggie a go, then I give being a paleo a go, and I try these things for about 6 weeks to 2 months.
Yeah.
I've been given veganism a go.
Yeah.
I just see how I'm feeling, my energy, my stimulation, and it's quite interesting that I don't change much between all of them.
Sure. You know what's the main?
I feel a little bit depleted with veganism.
Okay, and again, the main reason people feel like that is because the majority of people never eat enough on a vegan diet, and that's because animal products, again, even when you're vegetarian, you're still having dairy and eggs.
Yeah.
They are so much higher in fat and in calories. And we switch to vegan, and of course there are many different ways to eat a vegan diet. You can eat a junk food vegan diet that's going to be higher in calories, but if we're sticking with whole plant foods, which is the healthiest option, of course, they're lower in calories. So a lot of people look at my meals and say, wow, you eat so much, where do you put it? I said, well, that's the difference. It's whole plant foods. I have so much more volume that I can eat. Now, the difference with all those diets that you've been experimenting with is these guys here.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's someone else's life that we have to always come back to and think of. So this video here that you're watching, this one's about the egg industry.
Yeah.
I went vegetarian for a little while because I didn't know about eggs and dairy. And when I found out, I thought, wow, I stopped eating meat because I didn't want to kill animals. But the dairy and egg industries are actually worse and more violent than the meat industry, which I couldn't believe. So you're going to see in this video here, what they're doing now is sorting out the males to females. And the female chicks, they will raise for egg production, of course. But do you know what happens to the males?
Because just gas them and kill them.
Yeah, they're going to throw them into a grinder now. They'll macerate them alive on their first day of birth, which is incredible to think that we're doing that to babies.
But they're only giving birth for this reason. It's ridiculous. They're purely bred specifically for this purpose.
Exactly.
If that factory wasn't there, not only will they not die, they wouldn't be born.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, half a living, not a great life.
A terrible life.
Are dying.
Yeah, I mean, when we look at that.
My idea on eating meat, for any meat in particular, would be beef.
Why?
Because beef, one animal will live 5 years, which would be about a third of its life, so in human years. So for a cow to live 5 years is like a human living about like a full-grown beast. So if we're going to find grass-fed, living a third of its life, doing what it wants to do, because you release the cages from a cow and it doesn't move, it just stays, keeps eating grass. It's its nature. It just wants to eat and shit. That's all it does. It loves it. So if we got to live 30 years of it doing exactly what it loves, to feed so many people, if a person only ate beef, one animal will feed it for 2 years. That's a pretty good life, I feel like.
Well, it's not the life that we're looking at, it's what happens at the end of it. So we're not talking about the treatment, whether they're treated well or not during their life. We're talking about what happens at the end of the day for them to end up on our plate. So do you think that just because we treat someone really well, that justifies them having their throat slit if we don't need to?
No, but I'm just saying, when it comes to eating an animal, if you're going to eat an animal, if you have to eat an animal,
which we don't, though, that's the thing.
Chicken, if you choose to eat an animal, to use your words correctly, if you choose to eat an animal, a chick will only live how many weeks? That's not really kind of cool. For me, pigs are just way too smart. They feel right. Lamb is young. To me, the only one.
Do you think it's interesting, like how we're trying to justify it, like which is the best option to slit someone's throat? It's for me, when I think about that, it's a little bit bizarre. The thing to keep in mind with cows, with grass-fed organic cows that you're talking about, terrible for the environment. In fact, the worst thing for the environment. I don't know if you've seen a documentary called Cowspiracy.
I have.
Oh, you have? Oh, okay. So you've seen it. So you know how bad it is for the environment.
But I mean, they're going to be alive without it anyway.
There are a lot of things bad for the environment.
In India,
there are.
They don't kill them. They're there and they're breeding.
Things off a very ancient science and spirituality from another country. If you look back to our spirituality and our indigenous, they ate the meat, they used the coatings, then they use the bones for tools. We rape the earth to produce metals and pull all the ore. So there's a debate on both sides. I don't agree with any of that. Like if I have an egg, it's out of my friends' homegrown chooks, and they're looked after, they run nice. And
sure, the thing is with that, all of the chicks originally will come from the hatchery.
Well, these ones were saved chickens.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, she's done a thing and she looks after
She
them.
has, yeah. So there are, okay, so well,
it's a loophole. I think it's just...
So let me just talk about the backyard eggs, because this is something that a lot of people talk about as, I guess, the better option. And what we have to be aware of is that when we start to take backyard eggs, that becomes a bit of a slippery slope. So for example, do you eat eggs when you're out at all? Do you ever buy baked goods? You never eat out?
I don't.
You never eat out?
Oh, well, that's a lie, but I don't go out all the time. It's not like I'm going to cafes every day.
Sure, so what I'm saying is that for a lot of people, once they start eating eggs from a backyard chicken, they're used to eating eggs. So then if you go out and you see there's something on the menu and it happens to have eggs in it, most people won't think twice. Now those eggs are coming from these farms. The other thing is when we take eggs from the chickens, they encourages them to produce more eggs, which is really taxing on their body. So naturally a chicken is supposed to produce around, say around 15, 17 eggs a year, but they're genetically modified, they're genetically bred to produce about 300 eggs a year. Now the more we take those eggs, the more eggs they will produce to replace them. And that's really stressful on their bodies. And so that leaches calcium from them and it makes them produce more eggs. And finally, the thing that I guess we talk about is that we need to consider, well, is taking something from another being the right thing to do? So that's something that she has produced, that's from her body. It's the equivalent of her menstruation. You know, is that a food source or is that just something that she has produced from her body and it's not ours to take?
I feel like it's a nice gift from her.
It's a gift from her?
I feel like if you love your chicken, it's a nurturing communication, like in the
But she doesn't make it for
Indian world, right? In Hinduism, we've got 1 billion people in India that do not eat beef.
Yeah.
But they respect this animal, they love this animal like a mother, they call it a mother, right? You get 1 billion people loving their cow, they would not beat and rush a cow.
I've been to India many times.
They will be in the house with them.
Yep.
And they love this cow and they will take the milk quite freely with love.
Yeah.
I feel like the cow receives that love from their energy.
All right, so let me tell you something about India. A few interesting things that I didn't know. I've been there, gosh, 3 times, and I've seen all of that, and it is very different to what we obviously see here in the West. Now, India is the highest producing dairy country in the world.
Yeah, I know, because they've got so much.
Well, it's not the cows running around, it's the factory farms. So for a nation that loves their cows and they're so sacred, apparently they have the highest amount of dairy production in the world. So they're still doing everything that we're doing here in the West that we think is so terrible, they're doing in India as well. India is also the one of the largest leather producers in the world. So you know how they're not allowed to kill cows in most of the country, but I think there's like 5 states where they will actually take the cows to slaughter them, and I've seen footage. It is absolutely horrific. They will basically be on a journey for maybe 5 days or so, and they're pulling them along and they're breaking their tails for them to get up. They will rub pepper in their eyes to make them move. It's some of the worst footage I've ever seen. So that's heartbreaking to think that, again, people who...
heartbroken when you see a human that's got no food whatsoever, and it looks at that cow and says, you can nourish me. I know whose life's more important. No one's really, right?
Well, the thing is...
I mean, when there's a baby on the ground and there's a whole family living in absolute third world country, easy to say when you travel there 3 times, but we're living
No, I know, it's awful.
The earth.
And
from the earth.
I get it, mate.
Hold as many signs as you want. It's like you don't eat for 2 years.
No, I understand.
See where you're going to go to. You'll be sucking on the teeth so naturally.
I understand that half of the world's grain is fed to livestock, to animals, to fatten them up so we can slaughter them. The point is that we have enough food, enough plant food to feed everyone. In fact, we produce enough food to feed 10 billion people right now. But
they don't.
They don't. They feed it to animals.
But the other question I have is, what's more important, our trees or our animals, because we can go in our log and kill a lot of animals. And then what sort of bed do you sleep on? Is it timber?
Yeah. Okay.
Do you have timber anything in your home?
Sure, but the majority of deforestation is again for animal agriculture. They clear the land so they can have land to graze the animals.
And so that we can have timber and wooden products and build our homes.
Sure, but we're not chopping it down that amount of trees.
That's our first thing that we need that.
Of course we do, and so the first thing we need to do if we want to have more forests is to stop chopping them down for animal agriculture. It's not about being 100% perfect because we live in an imperfect world. So we're still going to have timber in our home. We're still going to have various things that
we're still going to eat meat and eat eggs
if they choose to, but if they choose to, and so we're showing the truth so you can make an educated decision that there is a victim behind every one of those products, that it's causing the most amount of damage to the environment, and so the question is, why are we doing it if we don't need to? We have enough food, plant food, to feed 10 billion people. We only have 7.5, so we've got everything we need. Deforestation would actually decrease because we wouldn't need to clear the land for animals to graze. We've already got the crops, more than enough crops at the moment.
Look, I think what you're doing is great, but I think at the end of the day, it's like what we're learning about is skeletal variation. We all got different bodies, the way we move, our bones move, and some bodies just need a bit of food that is different from being a vegan. My parents were vegans when they were younger, and my dad had to stop because he was sick. He got ulcers from it.
Yeah, so there are
ulcers.
Yep, so there are many different ways and many different things that are going to affect one's health. Science is telling us that our leading causes of death, including heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and some forms of cancer, are scientifically linked to eating animal products.
Yeah, it's also proven that.
And the other thing, I'll just finish this for a second. So, anatomically and biologically, we're all the same in terms of what we require. So we're from one species. Now there are differences in how we may digest different plant foods, but none of us.
That's a real important thing, because if you don't digest something, you're not going to absorb it, you're not going to use it.
Sure, but you're not going to.
Toxic to you.
That might be 1 or 2 or 3 different plants. It's not going to be all plant foods, right? So heart disease is our leading cause of death. That's the.
Do you know what's an interesting topic? Like when you go to the villages, right? I don't think animals are the problem. I think sugar is the problem.
Well, the thing is, we don't live in villages though. So if we're living in a city in 2019.
Yeah, I know, but we're talking about specifically food right now. So like my grandparents lived to 99, 98.
Yeah.
All of the village, just same, and all they ate was meat and potatoes. It's really interesting. It's their own crop. It's all organic. I get it was a different lifestyle. They chilled a lot. There was less stress. But what are we achieving here besides the thing? Like you're talking about longevity, heart disease, and all this. Like that's talking about life. Like why do you want to die early? And I'm like, it's actually not really proven that you live longer.
Oh, I think here we have to look at this.
If you take out processed food. Yes.
Yep.
Processed food in general.
Yeah, processed food
could be a part of it. But
okay, so every time you say meat can be a part of it, we have to go back to the victims.
Yeah.
Right? So my question is, if we don't need to have meat in our diet, which we don't because science is showing us that we don't need it, there's nothing there's nothing from animal products that we can't get from plants. We live in a city, not in a village. We have abundance of plant foods. Why are we contributing to this violence if we don't need to? That's the question that we're asking tonight.
I suppose the question is answered by people don't all have the same soft spot for what's happening.
It doesn't have to be a soft spot. It just has to be, do you think that is right or wrong? I mean, I don't have a soft spot for a lot of humans. It doesn't mean I can go around and kill people, right? Yeah. It's not about loving animals. It's just about looking at that and saying, it's wrong and I don't want to contribute to it.
Breeding corporations, because if we didn't have Woolworths, then we wouldn't have to have a whole butcher section where they have to fill to accommodate. Like, so you eradicate some of those. And
they make it easy for you so you don't have to see that. Probably
but now we're showing it to you, so you've seen it.
I'm just saying that if we didn't have big grocery stores like Coles and Woolworths and all those things, which I hate, well, I won't say hate, hate's a horrible word, and you can't find peace with anything with arguments and ahimsa. So if you took away a lot of those things, you know, if we were hunters and gatherers like we should be, we wouldn't have heaps and heaps heaps of things getting slaughtered all the time to have the shelves constantly stocked. So there's like a gazillion things of eggs and all the cheeses and stuff like that.
So reality is that we're not hunters and gatherers living in the jungle. We're living in a city once again, and this is the reality of what we're dealing with right now in 2019. And so it's simply a matter of whether it's one victim or a billion victims, they're still a victim. And if we don't need to make that individual a victim, why would we? This is not a survival situation. So
I suppose it's going to take a little bit longer to come out of that, because maybe it's something that can't be flipped
individually. We all have the option to decide each meal, is there going to be a victim on my plate or not? A direct
you're
victim.
right with that, but if we're talking about
we can't change everyone right now, but right now, with I guess I'm trying to connect with you two to choose.
Well, I eat a lot of plant-based foods. You don't have to try and convince me about that. But sometimes my body is like shoving down someone's throat that you must have a raw diet. It does not agree with me.
No, I don't agree with a raw diet either.
You know what? Sometimes I need an egg.
But again, I ask you, what is it? But what is it in the egg that you're eating?
I don't know. There's something that my body likes.
So I would suggest getting a blood test to find out if there is something that you're deficient in. But again, there's nothing in animal products that we can't get from plants. And so part of what we're talking about and I guess teaching people that we speak to is not seeing animals as a food source.
Plants being seen as a food source, and they've got feelings, they've been proven and all that stuff.
Well,
too,
they're not. They're not sentient. They're not sentient.
Well, okay, but
they don't have a brain or a central nervous system, so there's a huge difference there.
Look, I think at the end of the day, is for me, I like how I live. I don't agree with any of this stuff. I don't contribute by going to the big grocery stores and buying all that
Anywhere
stuff.
you buy it from.
So you're making you want me to feel bad?
No.
I'm going to buy
I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm just trying.
She's passionate, but it's coming across as making you feel bad.
I'm not trying. If there's nothing to feel bad about, I can't make you feel anything. I'm just giving you the facts. Every time you buy animal products, this is what we're contributing to, whether it's a large store or a small store. Every time you eat dairy, a dairy is coming from.
I don't eat dairy.
No dairy, no cheese, so it's just eggs.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're almost there, which is amazing.
What about honey? I love honey.
Okay, so
that's good for you.
Well, there's debate on that, definitely. Again, when we're talking about honey, what they're doing is they're taking a food source from the bees that they produce for themselves.
And then we're going to have a whole honey tour?
Hey?
Do you like pets?
Pets?
Yeah.
Companion animals? Yeah, sure.
Do you have any?
No, I don't.
Yeah, because I don't agree with that either.
Okay, let's finish the honey thing for a second, because this is interesting. A lot of people say, I just have honey. What's wrong with honey? And I understand that when you think about honey, you don't think that it's anything kind of wrong with it.
Yeah, well, you're taking from an animal. That's basically what it is.
Yes.
And basically, your argument is...
They're a sentient being. How much do you reckon they do?
Well, do you know how long it takes for bees, like how hard they have to work to produce a teaspoon of honey? Yeah. So we're taking something from them that they produce for themselves, that they work really hard for.
What do they do with the honey?
They actually, they eat it. That's their food. But so they also
bring it back and store it.
Yeah, but they build their hives out of that as well.
But isn't it a medicine as well? If we look at if we look at everything that's been put on this earth, so from mushrooms to all that sort of stuff, there's medicinal.
Yeah.
And there's amazing medicinal properties that come from honey.
Sure, so there's also a side that says that it's quite toxic because it's acidic. For example, it's vomit. The bee has to regurgitate it things like 50 times. So that's quite acidic. That's why it's very bad for our teeth. And the other thing is that the bees are pollinating all sorts of plants, so a lot of people have reactions to it because they could be coming from a plant that's poisonous, for example. So there are lots of different other sweeteners that we use that doesn't have to come from a bee, and there are lots of other medicinal properties in plants as well. So again, it's not something that we need to do, and again, we're looking at the animals that they're producing what they need for themselves, by themselves. Why do we need to take that from them? That's how we're looking at it. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. Yeah? But you're so close. There's actually...
as I said, I'm happy with where I'm at.
I know you are, but can I give you a resource for something, just one film that I feel would be amazing for you to watch? I don't think it's on this... Do you have a phone, or do you want to write it down or something?
Healthy debate is beautiful.
It's a good discussion to have,
I think just the one thing that has to be mindful is when you said a himsa is one thing, peace can't be found through, if there's a war on something, there's never going to be a peace.
Oh, I agree. And so,
write down what you
yeah, when we're putting in violence into our bodies, no matter where
I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about the approach.
Yeah.
The approach, the
Sure.
approach.
So, and I would ask you, if it was your life on the line, how would you want someone to speak for you? Passionately?
Sure.
Yeah.
Passion's an interesting one.
Yeah.
A lot of fire and passion.
There is.
Well, I always speak for animals the way I would want someone to speak for my life. It's called Speciesism, the movie.
Okay.
And that one, I think, will give a little bit more direction in terms of what we've been speaking about and how we see animals here for us or not. That one was a game changer for me. Yeah.
How long have you been a vegan for?
7.5 years. Yeah, and
Were you a veggie or
I was. Yeah, I was. For
well,
2.5 years before that, I went vegetarian. Again, because I didn't want to kill animals for food. I didn't know about the egg and dairy industry. When I found out about that later, because I never saw this footage, I thought, well, I've just spent 2.5 years still contributing to the industries that I didn't want to, and that's why I went vegan. Yeah. But here's a card with some more resources for you. If you haven't seen the one for this one here, Cowspiracy, that's about the environment, and what the health, obviously about health and a few other things there. And I know you've seen a lot as well. The one I will give you guys is this one here, vegan22.com. It's the 22 day of full support. It's an online vegan challenge for 22 days. You get a mentor, recipes, dietitian, so any questions you might have, so you could try that out for 22 days. That's fully supported. And I think the main thing is to make sure you're eating enough calories. I can't stress that enough. Whole grains, legumes, starches, nuts and seeds. Just eat from all the whole plant food groups, and it makes such a difference. I'll give you a quick example. My breakfast is a big bowl of oatmeal with lots of fruit, some frozen berries, some flax meal, some nuts and seeds, hemp seeds, cinnamon, and it fills you up, and that sets me off for a really great start to the day. And
that's
then
my breakfast.
Good. It's great, you know.
Mine changes all the time.
Maybe you want to eat fast, live longer?
No.
Intermittent fasting.
It's about intermittent fasting.
And that's a problem. A lot of people get into that when they start a plant-based diet and they do intermittent fasting because they want to do the healthy thing. The problem is it's really hard to get enough calories when you're only having 2 meals. And so the majority of people, like I've coached people and I see it all the time, I work online, they don't keep it up because they end up getting hungry and then they feel weak and then they get deficient because they don't have enough food coming in. So it's not needed when you're eating mainly whole plant foods. You know, I eat ridiculous amount of food, but I don't gain weight because I'm eating.
You're not eating calories. You're not eating the fat, or you are.
I'm eating fats, of course, but it's lower in fat and it's not processed, and it's the foods that our bodies are designed to eat.
I eat everything you eat.
Yeah.
I just have a side of meat maybe one meal a day.
Okay, yeah, so that's what I mean. Every side of meat.
Of all the nutrients you have.
Yeah, exactly. So just increase.
A side of meat.
So just increase the plants and take the victim off the plate. When we're putting that ahimsa into practice, that's it. Replace it with something that's, as I said, tofu or tempeh. It's got more of that meaty texture. Marinate it the same way. You don't like tempeh?
Yeah.
But how do you cook it though?
I've had it at retreats. I don't like it.
You don't like it? All right.
I don't like the texture.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it just hits my gut and goes.
Okay, so it's not for you, but there are plenty of other things. So, yeah.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for stopping by.
No problem.
All right.
Yeah, keep up.
Take care.
Kind of coffee, my stuff.